Hi folks, welcome back to Glasgow News. Okay, I wanted to cover this story for a number of reasons. It's a reference to Theresa May and what she's saying about SNP and stuff like that. So anyway, the headline is Theresa May claims independent referendum 2 is the last thing we want and slams out of touch SNP. The Prime Minister says the UK should be pulling together, not being driven apart by a second divisive referendum. Now, what does that tell you? That confirms that there will never ever be a people's vote. And the very reason there will never ever be a people's vote is because of the possible Scottish second referendum. Because you can't have a people's vote or a second referendum and then say to the SNP, no, you can't have it. We can have it, but you can't have it. So, because she knows very well that she might lose Scotland, and then she might lose Wales. So, you know, there's no ever going to be, there never will be, and never can be a second referendum for the Brexit vote. So Brexit means Brexit. Now they either go for the deal, the so-called deal, or they don't. But you know, there's no way back now. Whether or not there'll be a second referendum for Scottish independence is another thing. Though they're fighting that right now, and I don't think the SNP can go for it unless Westminster say. Okay, so Theresa May has insisted a second Scottish independent referendum is the last thing we want, and she criticised Nicola in the Commons. The Prime Minister was urged by Tory Stephen Kerr to firmly tell the Prime Minister that the UK government is against such a poll. May replied at Prime Minister's questions, he is absolutely right. There you go. She's been waiting for this. She knows that Nicola has been sitting waiting for the people's vote, and who's advocating obviously a second referendum. They're calling it the people's vote to try and pull the wool out of your eyes. It's a second referendum because they didn't like the first, right? The Brexit referendum. So, you know, they can't very well, as I said, they can't very well deny anybody else the same thing, can they? So anyway, as he points out, Scotland held a referendum in 2014. It was legal, it was fair, it was decisive, and the people clearly voted. See, now all those words there completely apply to the Brexit referendum. You know, and there was more people involved in the Brexit referendum, you know, than in Scotland. But more than that, at the last general election, the people of Scotland again sent a very clear message that they do not want a second divisive referendum. She added, but the SNP sadly are out of touch with the people of Scotland, and they haven't yet heard that message. The last thing we want is a second independence referendum. Or a second referendum of any kind, Theresa, that's what you're saying. In the UK, and the UK should be pulling together, not driven apart. That's right, that's what you're saying, because you know if you have one, it will pull it apart. Anyway, so does the Prime Minister agree with me that when Nicola Sturgeon demands a second independence referendum after 4 years, after what we saw the last one, that the UK government should side with the majority of the people of Scotland and firmly tell her no? So should side with the majority of the people. Just leave out the Scotland. These are the kind of things that come back to haunt them. But it's been well known that Theresa May would not want to, and there's no way the establishment want to lose Scotland, right? Because they'll be sitting down there themselves, because Wales will just follow right out the door. Anyway, so that's my opinion on that. Quite short and sweet, really, but quite an interesting kind of comparison to what's happening with Brexit, and it highlights what the thinking is. Because if there was not a chance of Scotland or Britain breaking up, they might go for it. But they're never ever going to break up the UK for the EU. No chance. And for some renegade Tories, no chance. They'd rather get rid of them. They'd shoot them first. Right, okay folks, that's all for now. Peace out.